All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all having a good night so far. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. So, something different as promised tonight. This is a video from a channel called Basketball in Context. This is the rise and fall of hoops basketball cards. And I don't know, to me this is going to be interesting just because the nostalgia of it. I still have a ton of hoops basketball cards, and ironically enough, I got a box of hoops from, is it 2024 recently? Yeah, the 24-25 season recently. So I'm actually looking at some new hoops right now, and so they're still around. Is the whole point of it, and I'm curious to know what Basketball in Context has to say about it, because I thought they were long gone too, and now all of a sudden there's some new hoops in my possession, and they actually look pretty vintage. But anyways, this is Basketball in Context, and a small channel, you guys. It's a really unique and awesome channel, though. 8,000 subscribers. Link is going to be down below in the description. Highly recommend you guys check out this channel if you're nostalgic about these old things. He covers a lot of old basketball games too, from the past, like video games, stuff like that. I have actually reacted to at least one of these videos from him, and he's just got an interesting little niche like carved out for himself where nobody else is, and he's talking about all these old school basketball things. And anyways, I think it's cool. Check it out if you want. Link is down below in the description. You also see a list of channel members. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all. Let's do this, guys. Let's check it out. Like the video if you could. And this is just one of those, I was gonna watch on my own anyways, so I figured there's probably at least a good handful of you guys out there that were nostalgic about these basketball cards from back in the 90s and the late 80s as well. So let's do it.
There was a time in the early 1990s when hoops basketball cards were huge. This is back in the good old days, back when you could find commercials for basketball cards on television.
I have that card. I have that Magic. Dude, me and my brother, we used to do whatever we had to do to hustle and make a little bit of money. Like anything from selling like blow pops to, bubble gum to, I sold mechanical pencils at one point, whatever you got to do. And we would take that money and buy a box of basketball cards. It's also how we'd get we got our Super Nintendo back in the day, like a PlayStation and stuff, same method. But these cards were so rewarding because we would be able to buy a box, split it up, and just open it together.
And Hoops was the flagship card company of the NBA back in the early 1990s. Mm-hmm. Even after the company was acquired by a competitor in 1995, Hoops brand cards weren't all that bad. But unfortunately, the glory days wouldn't last forever, and after the 2005 issue, the cards just vanished. Now, the thing is that Hoops cards are not gone forever. I already know this, right? The brand was eventually acquired by Upper Deck. It all eventually went over to Panini. You can find Hoops cards as recently as 2024, though the quality is pretty bad. And so what happened to this company? How could a company that was once at the head of the industry fall this far? Well, let's dig in. The first Hoops cards were released back in 1989.
Wow, yep. I remember these packs. 89 was the first year I started opening up cards. My brother got in a little earlier, I think, with the 88s.
Phrase, the official NBA basketball card printed prominently on the outside of every pack.
I remember those.
Of course, this is probably confusing to you since you likely know that Fleer also had a license with the NBA back in 1989. Anyway,
and then Upper Deck came in a couple years later, I think in 92.
It seems that Hoops came about in part because the NBA was frustrated that Fleer's cards were relatively short printed and were not all that popular. And yes, of course, I know all about the hype behind that 1986 Fleer set with all those great rookie cards, right?
Yeah.
The rookie cards just because Topps wasn't around for years. You see, the thing that people forget is that basketball card collecting really was not an established market. Not even in the mid-1980s when baseball cards plugged headlong into the junk wax era. The industry, the card collecting industry...
Yeah, I remember as a kid, the Mickey Mantle card, the rookie, that was like the ultimate. There was a Babe Ruth card, I can't remember which one it was, that was also, it was like one of those pie in the sky, I wish we could have that card. The thing that kills me every time I think about basketball cards, though, is even though it was like, you know, we didn't have nearly this amount of money, but imagine if you could have just scrounged together even like $1,000, got a Jordan rookie card. Because back then, you go to a card shop, they got a Jordan rookie card. They all did. You know, I think you can buy them for about $1,000 back then. It's always a regret that I had, that like we thought that was so much money back then. And if we would have got one of those rookies and held onto it, damn. The problem is I wouldn't want to sell it. It would be like the last thing, you know. If I'm about to like go homeless, all right, Jordan rookie card, we got to sell this.
Back then was all about baseball and to a lesser extent hockey. Meanwhile, sports like basketball really didn't get much attention at all. Famously, Topps exited the basketball card industry in 1982 after a little bit over a decade of frustration.
I bet like, dude, I bet those Topps with the greats like Dr. J and Larry Bird and Magic and Kareem, I bet those are worth a lot of money.
Topps faced major distribution challenges, as well as the fact that the sport just was not all that popular.
The bubble gum messes up so many, like nowadays. You know, if you got a pack of cards from 40 years ago and the damn bubble gum's in there, it's ruining a card.
In the late 70s and the early 80s. Surprisingly, some of the most exciting NBA playoff games from the early 80s were not aired on national television.
Mm-hmm.
And it was common in those days for CBS to air NBA Finals games on tape delay, which was even more frustrating for fans. Basketball, especially the NBA, also had a reputation at that time of being filled with drug users. However, as you know, the Bird and Magic rivalry really started to turn things around, and the big kicker came when Michael Jordan entered the league. Now, the NBA knew that there was a huge market out there for sports cards in general, and it figured that it could ride the wave of general interest in sports cards to get kids more interested in the NBA. And so it followed the lead of a sketchy Texas company that made football cards. Well, in early 19...
I remember these too. What are these? Pro Set?
1989, a company from Texas called ProSet teamed up with the NFL to create a line of football trading cards.
Dude, I have a bunch of these somewhere too.
ProSet was designed to be a high-quality product and featured action photos from the NFL properties library instead of, training camp pictures. The backs were full color and high quality, which became a major trend in sports cards throughout the 1990s. Mm-hmm. ProSet had a special relationship with the NFL, which is why the packs and the boxes said that it was the official card of the NFL. And there's quite a bit of evidence out there that the NFL wanted tons and tons of ProSet cards to be sold to get as many people interested in the NFL as possible.
Smart.
Anyway, the NBA followed suit. However, instead of finding some rando in Texas, the NBA did probably the sketchiest thing that it could possibly do. It decided to work with a tobacco company. I'm dead serious.
Okay, this is going to be cool. I don't know this history at all.
So this all goes back to this company called L&M. By the time cigarette companies pulled their ads from broadcast television in the early 1970s, L&M was far behind the rest of the industry. The fact that these print ads required a Surgeon General warning didn't help things much. L&M changed names a few times and dropped a few brands, finally settling on Liggett Group. As the 80s went on, however, all Liggett Group cigarette brands struggled, including premium brands like Chesterfield. It didn't help, of course, that major political commentators were attacking the entire industry by the late 1980s, and some of the most infamous cigarette ads started to draw the ire of ordinary consumers. It was a pretty bad time to have a company called Liggett, and so the corporation wound up splitting up. So the company itself changed its name to the Brook Group Limited, right? That's, I guess, not quite as obvious. It formed a subsidiary called Liggett Group Incorporated to handle the tobacco side of the business.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
smart.
The non-tobacco
that was actually smart.
Stuff went under the name Impel Marketing. And that's the company that handled the Hoops basketball cards.
Wow.
That's right. The NBA went after a tobacco firm to create its official basketball card set.
That's so wild. I don't even understand why. Yeah. Why that association? That's so weird.
Now, it turns out that Liggett Group had gotten its start by handling the
And also, before we get too much further in, I can't believe all the companies dropped the ball. The NBA dropped the ball. When Jordan came in '84, they should have had a basketball card, at least one, one official NBA basketball card. How did you miss that? Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Barkley. How did we miss all this?
Distribution of NFL Pro Set, which is interesting in and of itself. You see, one of the problems that basketball and football cards traditionally had was poor distribution. Topps generally had a strong traditional distribution chain through
25 cents for 15 cards. Man.
Drugstores and grocery stores, but non-baseball cards tended to do really poorly. And the biggest problem with Fleer basketball
Ooh, man, that's worth a lot of money now.
Those days is that distribution was simply awful. Now, I'm not an expert in the
interesting because I remember in the 80s, the late 80s and the 90s. I mean, I could go to a grocery store and I could buy a pack of cards. You couldn't get a box of cards unless you went to what was it back then, like a Price Club or something like that, which was before Sam's Club and Costco and all that. I remember that's how we would get it. But yeah, as far as individual cards, I do remember you can just like go to any card shop or any grocery store and usually find a pack of Fleer.
History of sports card
or hoops
distribution. I'm not talking about like what kind of packs they came in. I'm talking about like how we got from the company creating the cards to the store itself. However, I do know that by the late 1980s, there were two general distribution tracks. There was, first of all, the more traditional distribution track. This is the products that would go out to the big box stores and the grocery stores and so on. And then there was the new distribution track. This is one that went directly to the baseball card shops, the mom and pop stores. Back in those days, those were called hobby stores.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about how this stuff was distributed back in those days. However, we do know a few things about how comic books were distributed in the 70s and 80s, and I'm pretty sure that baseball cards were similar. My understanding of this comes from Chuck Rosansky, the founder of Mile High Comics, who has a great series of articles about all of this stuff. According to Rosansky, one of the problems the comics industry had in the mid-1970s was that sales were focused almost entirely on newsstands. Newsstands, drugstores, and so on could return unsold comic books to the publisher for a credit, which was a huge problem when the comic industry saw a downturn in the mid-1970s. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that there was something similar in that old Topps monopoly. In fact, I think this is why Topps used to print its cards in series. The idea was that you wanted to sort of trickle product to the marketplace to keep the kids buying and avoid having tons of unsold product that wound up being returned.
Oh, I think that's a business practice they picked back up nowadays. Because now it's really confusing as far as what's what, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of pack do I need to open to get this particular Wemby rookie card? And it's a hard journey to go on because it's like different sets, different volumes. Instead of just like, it's like 92 Fleer, it's like 92 Fleer volume 3. It's like, oh shit, you know, like I got the volume 2 pack.
In fact, the 1952 Topps Baseball High Number series is so valuable in part because Topps wound up destroying dozens of cases of unsold product because of this very problem. Anyway, Rosansky saw that comic book stores could solve this problem since it was financially beneficial for them to have back issues in stock. And eventually, Rosansky and others in the comic book shop world convinced the major publishers to open up a direct distribution line, that is, direct from the company to the comic store's shop. Now, we know that baseball card stores had a similar direct line from the card companies. After all, products like Topps Tiffany, also known as Collector's Edition, were only sold directly to the so-called hobby stores.
Wow.
And there are books like Card Sharks out there. This is the history of Upper Deck, which gives us a little bit more insight.
Wow, I just had a flashback. Y'all remember Beckett's? Like, I don't know if I have any left. I do remember. I collected Beckett's back in the day.
Upper Deck released its baseball card set in 1989. Its distribution plan was to start off by only selling product to hobby shops. The company figured that it would naturally create demand for the cards by selling to the biggest customers first, you know, what we now call the whales. When the cards finally started going through the wholesale distribution chain after several weeks, demand for Upper Deck's baseball was sky high. Anyway, I know that there were two distribution chains, though I don't know much about the detail. But that's why it's important and interesting that these cards use that cigarette distribution chain. Again, this is mostly speculation.
I get it. Yeah. That's the infrastructure. That's how to get it from the factory to the stores. So that's why they wanted the cigarette chain. Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of the same stores that the cards were going to go to the places that the cigarettes were going to go to anyways. You just got to add in all the card shops and whatnot.
On my part, but I think that it was likely that cigarette distribution chain that got trading cards into places like 7-Eleven back in the late 80s. Whatever the details were, that
wow, look at that. Yeah, we had a box of that. Got that Jerry Rice. I got that Boomer right there.
Distribution line got Pro Set football.
Yeah, but he's right. Look, it was happening back then, and I didn't even know it. Series 2.
Football cards into every conceivable store, which prompted Pro Set to print as many cards as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Now, this really only makes sense when you understand that the league really wanted kids to go nuts for collecting these cards. So both Pro Set and Hoops were actually what we would consider today to be entry-level brands. These were not designed to be premium cards at all. They were designed to sell as many packs as humanly possible, and the idea was to get kids to go nuts for cards from these sports so that they could eventually become fans of the NFL and the NBA. And so the
What's sad is, as a collector back then, I just went for the ones that I thought looked the coolest. And honestly, that led me to... I always liked Hoops over Fleer. But then when Upper Deck came around, like, that was it. Like, Upper Deck was the one. And nowadays, I'm pretty lost. I'm not going to lie. We got, like, the Panini ones, which are really popular. But then there's so many, like, subsets of them. Like, it's not just like, okay, I'm just going to get Panini and then we're good to go. There's so much more to it that I just, it's hard for me to keep up now.
They went as far as to introduce the cards at halftime of the Basketball Hall of Fame game in late October 1989. An uncut set and the original printing plates are supposed to be on permanent display at the Basketball Hall of Fame, though I'm not sure if that's actually true.
Wow.
The cigarette distribution network resulted in the cards being sold to hundreds of thousands of stores, pushed out by a sales force of over 1,000 people. The projection was that Hoops would capture 5% of the total sport card market in the first year alone, and that it would reach $40 million per year and beyond as early as the early 1990s. And the big kicker was that the tobacco company wasn't just distributing the cards, it was also printing them.
Oh, wow.
So I guess we should call the first Hoop set a cigarette card set, right? Now, in hindsight, the most bizarre part of all of this is that nobody asked whether it was a good idea to have a completely unprepared and inexperienced company suddenly print a massive run of basketball cards. It was an unproven company trying to start up an industry that had never amounted to anything. And surprisingly enough, it actually worked. Now, the funny thing is that
we bought them, yeah.
Technically were basketball cards printed way back in 1909.
Wow.
This is the Murad College series, often called the T51 set.
Dude, these are awesome.
After Jefferson Burdick's
They're hand-drawn?
Classification system. And so I guess there really was some precedent for tobacco companies printing basketball cards, though honestly, this set is really obscure. The first season of Hoops, on the other hand, was anything but obscure. Seriously, there are just tons and tons and tons of these cards out there. They were not kidding when they said they wanted to get to 10% of the total market. The David Robinson rookie card was the big selling point.
Yep, this is 89 Hoops. I love this set so much.
Of course. Overall, that 1989 Hoops set looks very nice with high-quality action photos and a signature arc. As usual, the Michael Jordan cards are the real big sellers. This is true of all basketball sets from the 1980s and 1990s. There are actually 2 David Robinson cards, though the draft pick card is generally in heavier demand.
Yeah.
The card backs aren't quite as epic as Pro Set, but you can see that they were going for the same overall feel. Anyway, in general, Hoops is really the company that built up the basketball card market. While older cards made by Fleer and Topps might be more valuable, the vast majority of basketball card collectors today got their start with Hoops.
That makes sense then. Okay, that makes sense because everything before 89 is so much more expensive nowadays to get your hands on than anything that happened after 89. I never understood why. Now I do. Basically, they printed a bunch more cards from 89 moving on because of Hoops. But before then, yeah, we were relying on Fleer. And I guess Fleer was not issuing out nearly as many cards, so they are harder to find. Probably less of them in general to have. And I remember that because I didn't have an 88 Jordan until about 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I never really thought about it, but it was like that was expensive. And then 87, like I had to settle for an 87. I got an all-star sticker from that year because I couldn't afford the actual 87 card. Forget about the 86 card. That's like a pipe dream.
As a result, that 1989 set is iconic, and the 1990 set has some of the most infamous cards in basketball card history. The 1990
Wait, say that again?
started with hoops. As a result, that 1989 set is iconic, and the 1990 set has some of the most infamous cards in basketball card history.
Yeah, I have all of these too.
The 1990 set makes it.
Look for Special Series 2, Subsets and Trades. See, I do not remember this from 89 and 90.
Even more obvious that Hoops had a special relationship with the NBA. The NBA logo appears 4 times on the pack, which is kind of overkill. Anyway, the most valuable and famous card is this Mark Jackson card, but not because of Jackson's ability as a guard. Instead, it's because of these 2 boys in the background, the Menendez brothers.
What?
Okay, now it's time for this.
What? Dude, I probably got a bunch of those Mark Jacksons somewhere.
Channel to have its brief day in the sun as a true crime channel. So you might already know this story, but if you don't, here it goes. Lyell and Eric Menendez shot their parents in their Beverly Hills home in 1989 and tried to make it look like a mob-related shooting.
Oh, wait, I think I know this story.
The brothers then went on a crazy spending spree, which caught the attention of the police. In the background of this card, you can see them with courtside tickets at this Knicks game. Not exactly the best way to lay low.
Wow.
They're still in prison today doing 50 to life and are up for possible parole in 2028. Anyway, for obvious reasons, that Mark Jackson card is always going to be extremely valuable.
Really?
And it's evidence that Hoops was using pictures from actual NBA games. So Star had done something.
Yeah, I'm glad I watched this. I got to look this up after the video.
Similar in the mid-1980s, but it didn't have access to the NBA's official library of images, and so all of its photos were taken at the same arena. Meanwhile, Hoops had photography so good that it could help solve a murder. The other expensive card, which is not quite as famous, is this Sam Vincent card.
Yeah.
This is notorious because Michael Jordan is wearing number 12.
Yep, you better believe I have that.
You see, Michael Jordan's jersey was stolen before this game, which forced him to wear a generic number 12 jersey with no name on the back. This was an incredibly exciting game, with the Magic coming back at the end of the 4th quarter, causing Jordan to get really frustrated. Despite Michael's best efforts, the Magic won this game in overtime.
The crazy thing is now we have the story, but back in 1990 when, we had this card, we didn't know what the damn story was. We're just like, dude, he's wearing number 12. Why is he wearing number 12? So we always kept that card, and it's why we remember Sam Vincent is because it had stupid card.
Anyway,
I kept it in my collection as though it was like, this is a Jordan card to me.
Got upset about the card, and so Hoops published a correction. This is the more common Sam Vincent.
Wait, no way.
Jordan got upset. Anyway, Jordan got upset about the card, and so Hoops published a correction. This is the more common Sam Vincent card.
That's funny.
Now, if you can get a graded copy.
I don't think I have the common Sam Vincent. I only have this one. 300 and no way.
The other one in great condition, it is worth quite a bit of money.
No way. You're not telling me it's worth for $400 because I probably have multiple of these. Damn, I gotta go back and see what my cards are worth. Like, for real. It's been so many years.
Unlike Pro Set, Hoops never really put this major emphasis.
That was such a common card back in the day. You open up a pack, you're probably gonna get a Sam Vincent.
Having tons of different variants of like every card. Instead, Hoops decided to get into the premium card market as soon as it possibly could. And honestly, that's really what you would expect from a cigarette company. The idea was to try to segment the card market into entry-level, intermediate, and premium brands, and when you think about it, you'll realize that that is exactly what we have today. The premium set was called Skybox, and it was supposed to preempt whatever Upper Deck was planning on doing to the basketball card market.
I thought Skybox ended up being the least valuable out of all these.
Unless you've been living under a rock, you know all about 1989 Upper Deck Baseball and the immense impact it had on the market for baseball cards.
For sure.
Upper Deck's cards had high-quality photography, great color separation, and simply looked wider and glossier than anything we had ever seen in sports cards before.
Yeah, hands down, Upper Deck, they brought, how do I want to say, like class to it? It felt premium. That's what I want to say. It didn't feel like a trading card anymore. This was like a premium collectible.
And Upper Deck followed up that baseball set with one of the most famous sets in the history of hockey cards. Anyway, Impel Marketing decided to put out its Skybox brand of cards in hopes of making it difficult for Upper Deck to do much in the basketball card market. Unfortunately, in hindsight, this set is not exactly all that attractive.
No,
it just doesn't feel like a premium product.
Yeah, it feels the opposite. It feels cheap. And honestly, don't get me wrong, me and my bro, we bought a box of this as well, at least one. We have all these cards, but yeah, going back, maybe we liked them at the time. Looking back, not my favorite.
The thick border and all the colors make this feel like a pretty crummy late 80s product. Yeah. I guess they thought it was cool to replace the background with a vortex or whatever that's supposed to be. And you might disagree with me, but I feel like this is a real step down from that iconic hoop set.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Of course, the Jordan card is the most expensive card in the set. This is true again of every single basketball set during Jordan's career. Fair. This card is more famous for its back than its front, though. This is just simply a great shot of Jordan golfing. I mean, the pack design does look really cool, but I would always rather get the cards with the huge NBA logo on the pack. And unfortunately for hoops, the fancy set did not stop Upper Deck's momentum at all. Upper Deck came out with an awesome basketball product in 1991, and it wasn't long before Upper Deck basically dominated the entire basketball card industry, just like it did for every other sport. Seriously, hoops should have been coming out with cards like
that's a fun card.
This one, the iconic Magic vs. Jordan card. There were a few other playoff matchup cards, though that Magic vs. Jordan card is the most iconic. Now, hoops did have a set of Dream Team cards, though it's kind of disappointing that these are all posed images. And the 1991 set itself,
I thought they were cool as hell back in the day, though. I have those too.
It's okay, but it's just not as wide and eye-catching as that Upper Deck set.
Is this, was this hoops again? Yeah, this is hoops.
The 91 set itself was okay, but it's just not as wide and eye-catching as that Upper Deck set.
This does look cool.
The Skybox Dream Team cards are a little bit more iconic. There was this series of cards that made a bigger image if you stuck them all together. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I had those. Where are they?
The whole thing wound up looking something like this. Skybox did have a Magic vs. Jordan card, but it was kind of disappointing.
Ooh, I don't think I have that one either.
And in my opinion, all that junk in the background really detracts from the card. But that's not to say that hoops was awful. It was still competitive, though the market was becoming a lot fiercer.
I didn't understand that Skybox was part of hoops, though. Like, I didn't know this was like the same entity and they were trying to combat Upper Deck together. I had no idea. I put it in tiers back then. To me, it was like Upper Deck was the top, was the upper echelon, then hoops, then Skybox. That's what it was in my head.
1992-93 was arguably the best year in history of basketball cards, and it's my personal favorite year to collect. Unfortunately, hoops and Skybox are on the lower end of quality that year. I mean,
I talk about this still to this day. This trading card. I have this card, and with the and I have the redemption card. I can't remember which is which anymore. I still have it in a box right behind me.
92 Upper Deck basketball is simply an amazing set. The photography is fantastic, and there are tons of variations to collect. However, this
do you guys know what I'm talking about though? With like the hole punch in it, like you got the redemption card, you mailed it in. They hole punched the redemption card, sent it back to you along with the official Shaq rookie card. That was crazy.
It's fantastic, and there are tons of variations to collect. However, this Fleer Ultra set is my personal favorite. These cards are simply beautiful, and I honestly don't think that we've ever seen a better basketball set than this. And I've actually got a copy of both of these sets in the bookcase behind me. It's down at the bottom. I will never get tired of cards from this era, and in comparison, it really feels like modern cards are a huge disappointment.
Yeah. Guys, you can still go to a card shop right now and find packs of a lot of these. It's not too expensive if you just get a couple of packs. So if you want to get a box, you might be looking at anywhere from like $20 to $100. But if you just want to go in and get a couple of packs, it's pretty fun.
Came back to basketball cards in 1992, though I personally don't care much for the top set.
Yeah, me neither.
At least the quality was a little bit better. That's the effect that Upper Deck had on the sports card industry. Stadium Club, meanwhile, is an absolutely awesome set.
Whoa.
They just don't make basketball cards like these anymore.
Oh, man, I remember these, but I don't know how many of these I have. I do remember. I know I have some of these cards, though.
Anyway, I guess Hoops was okay, though it was still nowhere near as eye-catching as the premium brands. Skybox looked a little bit better, though there's still way too much going on in the background for my taste.
It looks cheap.
But the card backs are amazing.
Nice.
And you've also got iconic cards like this from the Skybox Team USA set. Believe me, the Dream Team inspired a lot of merchandise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, video games, this.
Anyway, both the Hoops and the Skybox brands wound up settling down for what seemed like the long haul. The Hoops design did improve over the next 2 years, and Skybox fought as hard as it could for that premium market, and it looked like the company would stay healthy for a long time. 1993 Hoops was a huge step up over that ugly 1992 set, and 1994 Hoops looks even better. Skybox still looked nice, though the design is kind of questionable.
Hey, this one's all right. I like this one.
But there was no reason to think that the company would be in any sort of financial trouble. But it wasn't trouble. You see, while all of these cards were being printed, the sports card industry was suffering from a general downturn. The problem here was a combination of things. There were too many similar brands, the secondary market was damaged by the overprinting of cards, and that baseball strike in 1994 caused a lot of sports card stores to just shut down.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when Hoops ceased being an independent company. For a little while, it looked like Impel Marketing couldn't do anything wrong. In 1992, Impel officially changed its name to Skybox International as the company kept a focus on its premium product. That Skybox name helped the company get a contract to make NFL cards starting in 1992.
That makes sense. Okay, I was going to say, why would they go with Skybox instead of Hoops? But Hoops is directly a basketball card, so Skybox, they can do whatever they want, whatever sport.
Of course, there were tons of NFL card companies by that time, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't even notice.
I didn't know. That's the thing. I didn't know Skybox ever did anything other than basketball. So, yeah, I really didn't know. Fleer buys Skybox cards for $150 million. Fleer buys them now.
In March 1995, all of that expansion and the market downturn took its toll on Skybox, which was bought out by Fleer for $150 million.
Okay.
In retrospect, $150 million was a lot to pay for a company that had only made $4 million net income in the fourth quarter of 1994, which goes to show you just how severe the downturn really was.
Wow, so they were just buying their infrastructure. They had a bigger plan.
And this is really around the time that Hoops really lost its edge. You see, the thing is that Fleer never really had the distribution game right, and it struggled to maintain a portfolio that honestly was too big. Initial reports were that maybe Fleer would shut down some of the Skybox products, but instead it tried to keep them alive and tried to do everything at once. The result was a total mess.
I'm actually surprised because I figured their bottleneck was distribution, Fleer that is. So now you buy the ability to distribute your own cards, just go hardcore on Fleer, but they kept Skybox going. So, okay. Not what I would have done in that situation.
The Fleer might stick around for the long term because it was flashing the cash, which is kind of funny in hindsight. The truth is that everything was kind of a mess. Ugh. So take 1995, for example. This hoop set actually looks pretty...
I have these. Yeah, I have some of these. This is the most expensive box of cards I think I ever bought.
Good. And Fleer kept Skybox around as a premium brand, though I don't know why they made another Magic Johnson card. Fleer also...
If it was 95, that's because he made a comeback for like half of the season.
Also had its own basketball card brand, which honestly makes my eyes hurt.
That's disgusting. That makes me want to actually throw up.
Fleer also sold Flair cards as a premium product. And there was also a Fleer Ultra, though these cards don't look anywhere near as nice as those 1992 Ultra cards. So now you got 5 brands from the same company, and they were all competing against each other. And Fleer never really got a handle on this. Instead, it just kept printing cards regardless of what the market was doing or what consumer sentiment was like. And eventually that oversaturation resulted in tons and tons of debt for the company. Now, it's not that these later Hoops cards look bad. What I'm saying is that it didn't make sense for there to be so many brands from the same company.
Agreed.
At some point, it would have made sense to consolidate these brands and try to keep costs down to compete against Upper Deck.
I agree. There shouldn't be a Fleer and a Fleer Ultra. You know, there should be a Fleer, a Hoops, a Skybox, and Upper Deck. But that's it. Don't get greedy with the multiple different types per company, especially when one company owns all of them. Come on now.
Anyway, this 2005 set wound up being the last of the old hoop sets. The photography was still nice, but it just couldn't save the company. And it was nowhere near close to the quality of those Upper Deck cards. Well, Fleer didn't last much longer than that. In fact, 2005 Hoops was basically the only Fleer basketball product that year. The company was going under, and the numbers here are not pretty. I mean, this was a massive bankruptcy since Fleer was an international company by this time. Upper Deck paid only $6 million to buy the company out, and remember that Fleer had paid $150 million 10 years earlier to buy Skybox.
So in the end of the day, Upper Deck dominated them all anyways.
Fleer had over $33 million in company debt, which just goes to show you how poorly managed the company really was. This included a lot of debt to athletes.
Yeah, it seems like their mentality was never to tighten up what they already have, but just like, oh, let's release a whole nother one. You know, let's do another one, and then another one, and then another one. Like, maybe just tighten up what you have, make 3 really awesome sets of cards, and just that's it. People will buy them.
Autographs and other stuff like that. Fleer also owed the NBA well over $1 million.
Ooh.
And of course, there was that problem with all those redemption cards that hadn't yet been redeemed.
Oh.
Now, my understanding from various message boards is that Upper Deck did take care of card redemption, so at least that worked out fine for collectors.
I mean, for me and my brother, they did it incredible. I can't believe nowadays, thinking about how it all went down. Like, you know, we stuck our cards, our Shaq redemption card in the mail and just like put a stamp on it, sent it to Upper Deck, and we just hoped for the best. And they delivered, man. They not only they returned our original card with the hole punch stamped, but there it is. There's our new Shaq rookie. Like, that was great. Honestly, with something like that, like that's a story I'll always remember. And, you know, about a year ago when I went through my cards for the first time in ages, and I saw that card with the hole punch in it, I'm like, oh my God, like what a different world that was. But, you know, that was a different time. Back then you could mail, send a letter to, for instance, Michael Jordan, Kevin Johnson, Charles Barkley. You could mail these guys requesting an autograph. And, you know, like sometimes we'd send in a card. I did this with Isaiah Thomas, for instance. I sent him an Isaiah Thomas card, handwrote, told him I was a huge fan, and asked him if he would please sign the card. He signed the card and mailed it back to me. What a world it was. But seriously, things did not go so fine for Fleer. The problem here was that classic junk wax era problem. These companies thought that they could just print cards forever and that customers would be more than happy to choose from 5 or 6 different brands selling exactly the same thing. And when I look back on that era, I can only shake my head. Anyway, as you know, Panini has recently sold cards. These are the exact cards I was talking about that I opened recently. Which, I mean, are they great? No, but not bad. Not bad. They're not insulting, you know, or like they don't want to make me want to vomit like some of the Skybox does. The Hoops brand. These are Hoops cards only in name, and they look as ugly as sin. Okay, I guess. Yeah. Now, I might just be biased. I seriously don't like any Panini products and wouldn't accept these cards if you gave them to me as a gift. In my opinion, products like this are a stain on the good name of Hoops, and they do not belong in the same conversation as the classic product. Now, in the end, it really is a shame. Is this just me, or is Panini on everything now? What is Panini? Why is Panini? Are they associated to one company? Is there a Panini version of every kind of card now? What the hell is it? If you look at those first couple of Hoops sets, you know, if Hoops had just stuck to basketball cards and if it had worked on improving the base product instead of making that stupid premium set, I think that things would have worked out much better for the company. Unfortunately, we might never see cards with the excellent photography and legendary stories that the old Hoops card have, at least never again. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to start building up my own collection of these classic Hoops cards and sets. You know, the real Hoops sets.
It's sure a lot better than the garbage that the companies are printing these days.
And it's a hell of a lot cheaper too. Yeah, I agree. If I didn't already have I don't have all the hoop sets, obviously, but from 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, a lot of that I have way too many freaking cards from that era. Now it gets a little dicey around 94. I have some 95. I have a 94 Upper Deck where it's a Jordan baseball card, ironically enough. And in 95, I remember, I think that's the one that was like a really rare set because I think it's 95, 96, or is it 96, 97? I can't remember anymore. I think it's 95. One, you got Jordan's comeback, which is why I wanted to get in. I wanted some Jordan out of retirement cards because I didn't have those as a kid. And then you got all the crazy rookies, man, from Ray Allen, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Iverson, like Marbury. Like it was a stacked rookie set. So that one was cool. I got some 98 and some 97 to basically I went on a run to try to get a Jordan card from every season that he played basketball, and then I threw in 94 or 93, 94 just for fun, the baseball one. And recently at a card shop, they had Wizards cards, Jordan Wizards cards from each of his years playing for the Wizards. So they were cheap as hell, dude. It was like $5-6 each. So I picked up a couple of those. All I'm really missing is for official cards, I am missing 87 and 86. But as far as but I do have an 87. It's just like the All-Star sticker one that isn't valuable. But yeah, the 86 I don't think I'm ever gonna get, man. But that's the elusive one. I wish I can get it. And that's why, now that, I've been watching Wemby grow. I got his rookie cards while they're cheap. They're still under $10 right now. I bet, after this season, he's going to win DPOY. Maybe he'll win MVP. We'll see. But I think after this year, they're going to be a lot more expensive. So I figured just get in now before everybody wakes up to this. Because I remember the childhood version of me who wishes I would have just bought a Jordan rookie already and just paid the damn money and held on to it, but I didn't. But now I could do things differently. So anyways, you guys, it's fun talking about basketball cards for a little while. I hope you guys were interested. I hope you guys have some stories of your own to share in the comments, and please do. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And remember, this channel, Basketball in Context, only has, hold on. Oops. Excuse me.
I've got a question.
Only has, damn it,
There was a time.
8.2 thousand subs. So 8,000 subs, guys. I think for the type of material he's putting out, I think he deserves a lot more subscribers. So remember, the link is down below in the description if you want to check out the channel. And with that all said, be water, my friends.